What's up out there, my friends? I have recently finished a novel that basically shocked me because it was so fascinating and engrossing, so well written, and it came together so well. I was really surprised by A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle. This book is an 1887 detective novel. Of course, it's Sherlock Holmes, and it's his first tale, the first piece of the Sherlock Holmes canon. And in this one, Sherlock Holmes meets Dr. Watson for the first time. You see, this is Dr. Watson's story. We're reading a journal entry of his concerning this murder mystery, his experience with Sherlock Holmes. And Dr. Watson goes along for a lot of this murder mystery case, so it's his perspective that we get. And I really was fascinated by how well written this was for a debut novel. Arthur Conan Doyle wrote this book over a period of 3 weeks and published it in a magazine, Beaton's Annual Magazine, and it was really unpopular when he first wrote it. Thankfully for me, the book caught on. Now there are 56 short stories and 4 novels in the Sherlock Holmes canon. In this one, there is a murder that happens, and Sherlock Holmes, you see, is kind of like a consultant for detectives. In fact, he is a consultant for detectives that just can't figure out what's going on with their cases. They look to Sherlock Holmes for help, and Holmes also has his own team of cronies, basically. They're poverty-stricken people that go out into the field, into the city for Sherlock Holmes to help him investigate. They're kind of like his own private detective force, and he pays them for their work. In this case, a detective comes to Sherlock Holmes for help concerning a murder, and our dear Dr. Watson is thrust into this investigation with Sherlock, and I really loved the characters in this book. I just can't think of anything that was wrong. In this one, I loved the dialogue, I loved the witty, sharp intelligence of Sherlock Holmes. He's a master detective, and it's almost, actually it is humorous how cunning Sherlock Holmes is. I really loved this book because of the social circumstances. Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes going out into the field and trying to figure out what's going on. You see, I, as the reader, related to Dr. Watson, who is authoring this tale for us, because Watson is kind of a smart guy, but he's nowhere near the brilliance of Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes has basically an unattainable ability to detect, and this is a fascinating story. It really surprised me that it was from 1887, but it felt like a modern read to me in the way that the language was easily absorbed and understood by me. This was really interesting, and I'm going to tell you what, my friends, I was so compelled when I started this book to finish it. I was so captivated by it. It was so clear in my mind's eye. It was like a movie playing in my mind, which is what a good novel does for you. It's very clear. You can hear the voices. You can see the landscape. It was that clear for me. It really was a vivid experience. And I was so into it that I am going to read every single Sherlock Holmes novel and short story. I already know it. Drop me a line in the comments, my friends, if you have read this series, if you're thinking about reading it. Let me know which one is your favorite if you have read some of these things. And you can drop me a book recommendation on any book, and I'll head on over to Goodreads and check it out. Just might read and review it here in the future. Themes in this one include deductive and adductive reasoning, friendship, justice, revenge, reasoning, religion, forensic science, You know, this is the first piece of detective fiction that uses the magnifying glass as a detecting device. So that tells you a lot about how much influence Arthur Conan Doyle had when he wrote this Sherlock Holmes series. Of course, it has spawned many other Sherlock Holmes novels by other authors. There was a 1914 silent film and more films since then. It also had a television broadcast and a stage play and a graphic novel. Like, this is literally like a concrete piece of literature that will stand the test of time. It already has. I absolutely loved this book. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here, my friends, as I always am about what I think about a book when I read it. I had read 2 Sherlock Holmes short stories about a year ago, and I enjoyed them. I thought they were quite good, but I did not realize how great this character is and this world is at 221 Baker Street. This really was just such a great read for me that I'm obligated to give it a 5-star review, a maximum recommendation, and I feel obligated to plead with you to read this book if you haven't already. I could go on and on about how much I really enjoyed this tale. I'm looking forward to reading them all, and I want to let you know that you can join me on social media. I will drop the links in the description. I thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next time, my friends.